Hi there, welcome back to my garden. It's Ann at Martin House Flowers. In today's video, we're going to plant up some roses. Early spring, a few weeks ago, I noticed that 7 of my roses did not winter over. So Heirloom Roses, where I got my roses, was kind enough to replace them for me. So I have 3 David Austin roses and 2 Summer Romance roses. 2 of the Summer Romance are going to go in my long rose bed over here, and then the other 3 David Austins, I'm going to have to find a space for them. I know one of them is going to go in my furthest arbor, and we'll see where the other 2 go. I haven't quite figured that out yet. So thanks for joining me today, and hope you will enjoy this video. So I'm here at the end or exit arch of my cut flower garden, and my first 2 roses that I'm going to plant today are David Austin climbers. The first one is The Pilgrim, and it is a beautiful lemony yellow, a sort of a medium yellow rose. And I'm going to drop the specs down below, but I believe it has a myrrh fragrance, if I'm not mistaken, but it grows up to 12 feet high. And then my other one is a Claire Austin, and it is a English climber, and it's a creamy white with a strong myrrh fragrance. So I could be getting that mixed up with the Pilgrim, but I will list the fragrance description with the photo that I'll include in this video. So Heirloom Roses does not want you to plant your rose with any granular fertilizer in order to warranty its first year. So I am not going to put a mycorrhizae down. I didn't plant any of my David Austin roses from Heirloom that way, only because I wanted to make sure the warranty was honored. So I do have another container left from last year, which is a 2-quart fish fertilizer. So I will be using that in shortly after I see some foliage, some leaves coming out. There are a few, but I want to get it planted first, and probably in the next week when I see some more foliage coming out, I will fertilize with the fish fertilizer. It's a liquid fertilizer, and that way it guarantees that it doesn't burn the roots or the rose in its early stages. So let's go ahead. I do have with me my shovel. You want to dig it about 24 inches deep and wide. And I'm also going to put the last cage I have here. I have a cloche and I have this one remaining, and whichever one fits. The cloche would probably fit in the Claire Austin because it's a little smaller. And I will use this cage here, my chicken wire cage, around the Pilgrim. So let's get going on this. Okay, so I've gone ahead and dug out, it took a few seconds to dig out the Impressionist root. Clearly it didn't root well enough. It just came out so easily, and I do have some sweet peas planted over here. I don't know if it's worth leaving those. We'll see. I'm going to dig out the hole. These signs that I get from Amazon, I know I have some new ones. You can also just take some alcohol and change that out, but I'll probably just make some new ones. So the other thing you want to do with your soil, is to amend it a little bit with either either a potting mix or a um, a peat moss and some compost. I happen to have some potting mix, and which contains peat as well as compost. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that. These were no dig beds to begin with, where we just put down cardboard and compost. So the soil, as you can see, is really quite nice. So what I'm going to do is mix up this potting mix with the soil and just kind of blend it together so that it works with the native soil. So we're going to put the Pilgrim down first. I'm actually going to use this I'm going to use this bamboo stick. So I'm just going to, I think I mentioned before that I had left these on the potting bench for about a week. It's probably been 10 days now, but Greg was really great about watering it daily. There is some drainage. There's some drainage holes there, and the box obviously didn't get too soggy, so it must have drained. They're using this method now instead of one of these black cans that they normally do. So for now, I'm going to leave this sign on here so I don't forget what it is. I can easily pull that out. So that's definitely deep enough. You want to use all the soil that's in there. And you want to kind of, whoops, turn it so that it's getting caught. What a sweet pea. Turn it so that it kind of leans, it's sort of on an angle and it's leaning in the direction of the arbor. So then I'm going to take my soil that was in there mixed with the potting mix. We didn't get a chance to add new mulch back here, so I'm definitely going to, after planting this weekend, I'm going to go get some more mulch. These sweet peas have not had a break. They haven't had much luck because of these bunnies, but I'm definitely going to add, we went ahead and got more of this fencing, this grid fencing. I got a new roll of it because when I go to plant my zinnias, I'm not taking a chance and having the bunnies munch away at my roses or zinnias. Now, I did plant a few weeks ago the bare root roses from David Austin, and if you recall or not, they suggest that you go 2 to 3 inches. You bury the base of the canes 2 to 3 inches, and I guess that protects. And I followed the instructions, of course, but that protects your roots from winter. So I'm gonna go ahead and take that advice and bury these a little deeper than I normally do. Oh, look at that! Or I have a broken. The canes are so fine, but so that one's done. Like I said, I'm gonna come back in here and get some mulch. So I think that one's definitely bigger. I'm just gonna leave that laying down there because it was on the box. And I'll come back and get some staples. For now, I'll just use this old sign to staple it in, and the bunnies can't get at it. I feel pretty good about that. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So I'm just going to dig out this Kiss Me Kate. I think it's definitely not going to survive. You know, when you have a young rose, and try not to step on these tulips. And you have the bunnies, you know, scraping away at the roots. It doesn't give it much chance. It also looks like some winter damage here with that black cane, with the blackness. So that's a disease. So same thing, I'm gonna dig it deep enough. Make sure I've got I do see some roots here that I'm not sure. You want to make sure that you're removing any roots. All right, so I've got my native soil and my potting mix, and I'm just going to blend it together because you don't want a bathtub effect. There we go. Much better. That way it's growing in this direction. I feel better about that. And once I get a chance, I get another bag of mulch. I'm going to mulch these. Much better. On to the third David Austin rose. And I've been looking at this space for quite a while, and I wanted to add a third rose. However, I planted these bunch of tulips over here, which is kind of the perfect spot. So I'm gonna try to dig the hole kind of around between these two bunches of tulips. I'm not sure whether these tulips, these are the berry blush mix, which are a Triumph, I believe, Triumph variety, and it's debatable whether or not they will return. Sorry, as I do you do the same thing? I just can't not pick up a weed. Uh, so we're going to dig a hole right in between here where the box is, and we'll see um, if I get into anything. Oh, I also have a drainage hole right here, which of course I can't dig in there because this drainage pipe is right there. So we're going to do it right here instead. And the good news is these are just grape hyacinths in front here, and I can easily get in there and not disrupt too much. A couple bulbs, couple small bulbs are not a big deal. Yeah, let me just get in there. I've got my potting mix right here that I'm going to mix with it. And that's a good 2.5 feet apart. Same with this one. This is 1, 2, 2.5, 3 feet apart over there. So I feel good about this. So this is Tranquility, David Austin's Tranquility. And Tranquility grows about 4 by 3, 4 feet high, 3 feet wide. So it's a nice, somewhat compact rose. You know, I always take their dimensions with a grain of salt because I know from experience, like my Eden rose, I think was supposed to be a 4 by 4, and it's more like 6 by 4. So it really depends on your zone, your conditions, the amount of sun you have. This is a west facing garden. So as you can see, I get morning shade, afternoon sun. I'm going to make sure I get all the soil that it came with. I'm going to put this sort of beside it. Do a nice mixture. And mix the native soil that was there, the original soil, as well as the potting mix. Actually, I don't want any air pockets, so I'm just gonna make sure this is Tranquility. Get the mulch back on there. Grab my bulbs. Just two I disrupted. So I think I'm just going to bury them in front here. Right in front of the tulips. And let them naturalize. And there you go. And once these tulips break away, this will be great. I gotta get myself another cloche. Let's find one of those. We're in our final spot, which is where we started this video. We're gonna plant our 2 summer romance roses right behind me, right behind these beautiful cat's pajamas nephida that are in full bloom. I originally had, I believe, 2 or 3 roses here, but I've decided to just plant these 2. I had also lost a couple over by the greenhouse, and I'm starting to wonder whether or not I should plant one over there. But the greenhouse is, I would call that northeast facing, so it's a little more shaded, so I'm not that confident that I should plant another rose there, because I did lose 2 roses over in the corners of the greenhouse. So I'm just thinking out loud, but I think I'm going to be happy with Summer Romance here. I guess I'm just concerned because I did lose Litchfield Angel and Rosanna Jacobs, which were both yellow roses. Tchaikovsky is the one I lost, and Rosanna Jacobs, and they were both, Tchaikovsky's more of a creamy yellow and Rosanna Jacobs is a yellow. So I'm really sad about that. But this Arctic Blue is a little bit more lavender. New Dawn is a pale pink. So I'm really thinking we're going to stick with the sort of pinks over here. And I think I have another white rose down there, but basically pinks and whites, majority of them are pinks. And so I think I'll just go ahead and plant these 2 summer romance. Let's go for it. I'm making sure that I am a good distance away from the next rose. That's a good 3 feet away. And I don't mind that these are going to be roughly 2 feet apart because I don't mind them growing together since they're the same variety. And then Arctic Blue over here is from the center. It's a good 2 feet, definitely 2 feet away. And it's also a very compact. So I like exactly where they are. I'm just going to clear this area. And it's not the exact area where there was a rose, which I'm happy about. And if I disrupt some of these bulbs, it's not a big deal. I might have said in previous videos that Nepeta is supposed to be a deterrent for bunnies, but that rule is another one of those kind of myths, because the bunnies in my area don't seem to care about these rules. I'm just picking out these vining weeds that are just rampant already. They're just like choking hazards. Oh, goodness gracious. Because I'm kind of a little bit of an incline here, I'm going to go ahead and mix the potting mix in the hole. As you can see, these are leafing out really, really well already, really healthy. I'm going to stop here. And thank you so much for joining me today on my planting of David Austin roses. Today we planted Tranquility, we planted The Pilgrim, and Claire Austin, and my last two heirloom roses are Summer Romance in front of me here. So I look forward to sharing more of my roses as they bloom out in the next few weeks, and I hope to see you again next time. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye-bye.